Well, what I've got here is the brand new Kreg MortiseMate, but is it a domino killer?
I don't know, but I'm gonna find out.
So let's get this bad boy assembled so we can run some test joints.
The main unit is pre-assembled, but we do need to attach it to the included platform, as well as attach the handle and the dust port. Now while I do that, I should tell you that this product was sent to me for free by a vendor so that I could review it. The review was not paid for, and this is not an ad. As always, you'll get my honest opinion because it's the only way I know how to do this, and if I supply a link for any products shown today, those will most likely be affiliate links that help my business go. I don't say it enough, but thank you. I know you guys are probably sick of hearing the word affiliate, but for some of us, it truly helps keep the lights on.
As you can see, I attached the included Kreg platform to another piece of plywood, and what that's going to do is allow me to have a portable setup. I don't really want this thing to be screwed to my workbench indefinitely, so I will be able to clamp this guy down, and the clamp shouldn't interfere with the workpiece. Before we do any kind of cutting though, let's take a closer look at this wacky mechanism. Overall first impressions, pretty favorable. This thing looks very well engineered, well built. Looks like you pretty much just put your drill bit in like so. Of course, you'd have a drill on there. As that guy spins around, you're going back and forth like this, and then advancing. I think it goes about 1/16 of an inch with each pass. Of course, we got a nice little dust port here. That's always appreciated. And the cutouts on the platform are there so that we can easily get a clamp in that location and clamp everything to this platform. You'll also see that there are little hash marks and lines that represent the center point, and that center point is really handy when you're doing layout for mortises, kind of like you would do with the domino. Well, so far so good, but we need to put it to the test.
I'm going to lay out for a few different test joints, nothing too exotic. Just like the domino, the joints will all be based on center lines, including the center line for the thickness of the workpiece. The MortiseMate adjusts up and down, and it's pretty easy to line up that notch with our line. Now I can clamp one of the workpieces in place, attach the dust collection, and start drilling. The drill bit features a stop collar, and you can use that to control your depth. So we just go back and forth, and each pass you'll see the bit advance. It just kind of steps down each time by what I believe is 1/16 of an inch. Of course, Kreg makes their own little tenons, so let's test the fit. This is a bit loose. The gaps on the sides can be adjusted out, but we're kind of stuck with the other dimension. Now for the adjoining piece. This one is end grain, and you can definitely feel the difference. The bit has to work harder, and you need to push harder in order to advance. Now I'm going to see how hard it is to adjust out that side-to-side dimension so that we can get rid of those gaps. Now it is easy enough to adjust, but this is something that I could see getting out of calibration very easily. If you don't move both stops the exact same amount, your mortise will no longer be centered on the center line. So it took a little trial and error, but I now have a better fit. I've got no idea if it's centered though. Next I'm going to try making a series of mortises, simulating what I might do to help align boards in a wide panel, like a tabletop. By the way, you see that little bit of movement there? That's not ideal. Alright, so let's test the first joint. I actually recut these with a better setting on the jig, the side-to-side setting. I say better, but as you can see, there's still quite a bit of play there. Next, we'll look at the MARC panel. With so many tenons in play on something like this, it would still help quite a bit with panel alignment, but the tenons aren't quite as snug as they would be on something like the domino, but it would still work. Alright, now let's do something a little bit more challenging. How about 4 tenons on 2 thicker workpieces? Layout is pretty simple, and aligning the jig is easy enough. Though on these shorter workpieces, I'm not liking how the quick clamps grip, so I'm going to use some F-style clamps. Let's check the fit. I mean, everything seems to be aligned well enough, but the lack of snugness in the fit, it's serviceable, but not awesome. By the way, I'm referencing the domino a lot, so real quick, let me just show you the fit difference so you don't think I'm cuckoo. See how snug that is? And you know, for the heck of it, let me test the domino mortises with the Kreg tenon. Interesting, it's kind of loose. So it looks like the dominoes are coming in at 6.08 millimeters and the Kreg tenons are 5.9. Now that difference would definitely contribute to a looser fit. Is it just the way they're made? Is it the humidity? I really can't be sure at this point, but it's worth noting. So let's go the other way. How about some domino tenons in the mortises that were cut by the Kreg jig? While the dominoes are a tad thicker, they still aren't thick enough to hold this joint together. So the Kreg not only has undersized tenons, it also has oversized mortises. Okay, one more test. How about a miter? It's easy enough to make, but still just a little bit loose.
All right, so let me see if I can give you guys a bit of an overview of my impressions on this thing. I think it's a pretty decent product. It does what it says it is supposed to do. All you need to do is bring a drill to the party and you've got a functional little mortising machine. You buy their pre-made tenons. You don't even have to make your tenon stock. Overall, in a vacuum, I think it's a pretty decent product. The problem is this product doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists in a world where there's competition. So we naturally have to look at that competition. So first things first, I did make the comparison to the Domino and asked the question, is this a Domino killer? That's a difficult thing for me to answer. I mean, I'm in a bit of a privileged position. I own a Domino. I love using it, use it all the time. But can this get you close? Well, I actually think it kind of can. For $299, for that price savings, you could do door frames with it. You could do some of the joints that we did on larger pieces like this, but it certainly has its limitations. So if you see those limitations and those don't bother you, this might be something you want to get into for $299. You got the convenience of their little tenons. You got a system that works with nothing more than a drill. I mean, it can be pretty compelling depending on your situation. But just to reiterate, two big flaws and comparing it to the Domino is that with the Domino, we can plunge anywhere we want to, including the middle of a board. We can't really do that with the MortiseMate. And the other thing is the fit. The fit of these joints. I mean, some people might be happy with this. I would not be totally happy, but for the price savings, you know, it's a little bit of a give and take there. But ultimately, if I made these with the Domino, I would not have these pieces just kind of falling out the way that they are. So that's not ideal. But it's, you know, part of the nature of this jig. I just noticed over time, as I'm using it with the weight of a drill and the fact that the drill is engaging with this guy from the side, ergonomically speaking, that's not great. It just gets a little bit uncomfortable, especially pushing into end grain. And if you have a lot of these to do, you're gonna find that a heavy drill is gonna kind of weigh on you over time. It also weighs on the jig itself. So the weight of that drill, when this thing is fixed in a fixed position and clamped down, it's also contributing to the flex in the jig, which is contributing to the larger than ideal sized mortises. So that's a comparison to the Domino, but I don't think the story should end there. There are other joinery systems on the market that we absolutely should consider when thinking about a new entry into the space. So Rockler has a system called bead lock. It's pretty interesting. You just use a drill and drill a series of holes that kind of overlap with one another so that in the end you do end up with this sort of undulating looking mortise. Now you could buy their tenon stock. I believe you buy it in sticks and you just cut it to size, or you could buy a router bit to make your own. So pretty good system, but the key thing is it's like $90 and then you could add other sizes to your collection if you want to as well. So that's pretty darn cheap, and I would put the joinery kind of on par with what I'm seeing here. Is it as elegant of a solution? Maybe not, but ultimately it's going to work, and the joints may not be 100% perfect. They may not be Domino tight, but again, 90 bucks. That's definitely a selling point. Now, if we go up in price a little bit to something that's, you know, in the ballpark of the price range of this guy, you could look at something like the Dowmax. Now, the Dowmax, I believe, is on sale right now. I don't know for how long, but it's $225, and I believe the regular price is $249. That's less expensive, but I think one could argue that the Dowmax is actually going to be able to do more and probably do it better. You'll be able to put this guy in the middle of a board anywhere you want, because you can kind of take this whole thing apart, and the center block is really the key. Everything else is kind of a clamp or a spacer. Also, the dowels are nice and tight. I've used the system recently quite a bit when I did my daughter's vanity, and it was fantastic. And I kind of dismissed dowels over the years, and I think that was a mistake. I think it's a very capable jig for the price, and you know, for things like this, especially if you can get a block of 4 or 6 dowels connecting large parts like this, that is going to be incredibly strong. And they're not going to fall out either, like these are. So definitely for that kind of price range, this is something you probably should be looking at. Now I've got one more comparison for you, and this one, This one's interesting. Take a look.
With each side-to-side move of the handle, the Pocket Mill Pro will step down incrementally, dropping the cutter bed into the workpiece 50 thousandths of an inch until you get to your optimum depth. The plunger will stop automatically.
So did you notice something? It looks pretty flippin' familiar. That's right, Mark. It does look similar. So last night, I got a bit of a bombshell email letting me know that Jessam partnered with Kreg to develop the MortiseMate, and that explains the similarities. So there's no foul play going on here, and I think Kreg is trying to get the word out that they didn't copy a design, they partnered with Jessam. Now, as I understand it, the Jessam version will be phased out over time. So it's now kind of on us to look at the differences between these two, because the Jessam is $269 right now, it's on sale. So you have $269 versus the intro price of this at $299. The Jessam, to my eye, I mean, I've never had my hands on it, but looking at the promotional materials, it looks more capable. You're able to do bevels because they have a little angle attachment that you could bring to the party. They have a workstation that you could purchase, and certainly something you could probably make as well. It looks like a more functional device. The other thing is, they position it so that the drill goes on the top, and that way gravity is helping you. I've mentioned that holding the drill on the side is going to be a little bit fatiguing and not my favorite way to do it. Well, the Jessam goes from the top, so I think that actually is better. So I'm glad that Jessam was able to help them with this design. At least from what I see right here, it looks like the Kreg version is a bit of a step backwards, and right now it's more expensive. So I can't see any reason to recommend getting the Kreg right now for $269. I would be heading over to Jessam. If you like this kind of action and what this thing does, I'd be heading to Jessam to get one of those before they're no longer available. But if you've got $200-300 in your pocket and you're looking for a good joinery system, I just don't know that I would be recommending any of these. I honestly think the Dalmax is probably your best choice in that price range. So thanks for watching, everybody. Of course, if you have comments or more information, maybe more bombshells for me about things I didn't know about, feel free to leave those in the comments. And be sure to like and subscribe. That certainly helps support things and make sure that you don't miss any of the content that we put out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.